Hi guys, it's Sophie. I'm here with Foster, who is being cute, she's in my lap, to do my February wrap up. I've had a really good reading month. I read 18 books this month and I read 18 books last month, so I'm kind of bossing it so far this year. I think I'm just finding lots of things I enjoy and kind of getting through them fairly swiftly, though I've had some long books in these this month too, so I'm quite proud of myself. So I'm going to go through them. Some of them you might have already seen in my birthday haul, but I didn't talk about them too much, and I'm probably just going to do like a similar kind of quick fire to what I've done before, so don't worry if you've seen them before, there are new ones coming up. The first one I have to share is The Change by Germaine Greer. I decided to buy myself some books for my birthday and this was one of them, because I haven't read her, and I chose this one because it's around the menopause and I know very little about the menopause, and I thought that it'd be interesting to kind of do a deep dive into that, and yeah, I just kind of was like, I should know more about this will happen to my body one day. It's a big fat book that goes through lots of different things about how it's been treated historically, how people treat it today, what the attitudes are towards it, what you can kind of expect and what you can't expect. There's a long section on like witchcrafty alternative cures in there in the middle as well. It was a bit strange, but I did feel like I learned a lot. I didn't feel like I'd spent that much time like thinking about the menopause and what that is, apart from like talking to people in my life who were going through it. So I really liked sort of just having a bit more time to learn about it, and I feel a little bit apprehensive toward it, but I kind of also feel like if I was thinking about like womanly health through life, I've got the childbirth bit next, so I'm kind of like, let's get through that bit first and then we'll go on to menopause. So whilst it kind of did like strike a little bit of fear into me about what to expect, I think it was kind of overall quite comforting to know a bit more about it. Yeah, I think I would pick up more of what she's written. I do know that there's obviously a bit of like controversy around things she said, but I still think I can get something from these, and I'm not a person who's really, I don't just completely blank someone's work for some things that they've said. I actually don't really mind that, in the sense that I can read the ideas for myself and I can see where I think things and go, oh actually I didn't agree with that, rather than just blanket banning it. So it was quite interesting to read her, and I probably would read something else of her with that kind of caution and active mind that I think you should have when you're reading stuff that you might not necessarily chime with, and actually I kind of think you should have most of the time when you're reading anything. Next I read Mr. Salary by Rooney, alongside everybody else. This is really just a short story, just published by itself. I don't want to tell you much what it's about because it's so short, it's only like 30 pages or something, 33 pages, that to tell you any of the plot kind of is the plot. Only that I enjoyed it and I wanted it to go on longer, and I think I stopped it going, no, what's going to happen next? So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye out for more of what she does. Another little one, just whilst we're on little ones, is Birthday Girl by Haruki Murakami. I read this one on my birthday, which was nice. It's about a waitress who is turning 20 and is working in a restaurant on the day of her birthday. She meets an old mysterious man. Story happens, there you go. It is again really little, I think this one's only about 40 odd pages, yeah 42, so I can't really tell you more than that without spoiling it too much. And then I read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I quite enjoyed this. I think I liked it more reading it than maybe I'll remember it after, if that makes sense. But definitely chimed with me. Dolly Alderton's a little bit older than me, but not so much that the stages of life and love and interacting with people that she recognises are too unfamiliar with me. Dolly Alderton has had far more wild 20s than I've had. My 20s have been fairly sedate and fairly kind of 30-year-old 20s, which I'm actually fine with. I'm not that into that like scene, and sometimes when I see people writing about like how messy their 20s were, I want to like rescue them with cups of tea and like organisation. But I did enjoy the process, and I think it was a very open story, and it's kind of like a little bit of a question in my head about whether or not it's a book that's so much about love as it is a memoir. And I'm not sure, I don't know that I necessarily mind either. I think I didn't necessarily learn anything from this, but I think I kind of like resonated with bits of it, which was entertaining. And I would definitely read more of stuff that Dolly writes if she does write like other books in future, because I found it really easy to read and did really enjoy the process of reading it. But you guys know my kind of like hallmark for books that stay with me for a long time is that they teach me something, that I learn something. So I'm not sure whether this one will like carry on in my head as something like great for me, but I did really enjoy it, and I think you guys probably would enjoy it too, especially if you're like in the UK and somewhere between like, I don't know, 25 and 30. I think you'll recognise a lot of yourself in there. The next one I have is Memories of the Future, and this is by Sari Hosvet. I've done a full review of this one, so I'm not going to talk about it here, but I'll link it up above if you want to check it out. The next one I have is one I got for review, and I'm not going to talk about it too much because I actually didn't like it at all. It's Peach by Emma Glass, and I really wanted to like this. I didn't really know what it was going in, but it is a story essentially of a girl who's been sexually assaulted. I'll tell you a little bit about what I didn't like, and I think most of that kind of comes down to the style and some of the approach of the way that things were treated. So the book is basically looking in on this girl as she sort of deals with what's happened to her, but there's a strange use of kind of magicalization of things, and things turn into food quite a lot, and things turn into other things, and sometimes that I mean, normally that would kind of appeal, but I felt it kind of detracted from it. I felt in parts it was too much, and in parts, like especially the end, I was kind of like, what happened with the end? It just didn't really fit with me, and I didn't get a sense, it almost felt like it didn't hit me, it hit me too hard at once. So I'm sorry to have not enjoyed this one. I thought I was going to. I do think that there are books on this topic that are better. I'm not going to sort of trash it anymore because I don't really want to, but I just didn't like it, sorry. The next one that I read for my In Real Life book club, and that one is Home Fire by Kamila Shamsie, and this one went round the rounds like a year or two ago. And it's basically a retelling of Antigone. It's a telling about two sisters and their brother, and a lover, and tragedy ensues. It's kind of like a modern retelling of it, with terrorism being kind of the focal point of that story. We had a lot of discussion about it in BookTube and Book Club, and I will kind of sum up our thoughts there because I think that's kind of where my thoughts are now. I actually quite enjoyed reading it and quite enjoyed the process of it, but I think it'd be quite forgettable. We kind of felt that maybe some bits needed a bit more room to breathe and develop and become a bit more realistic, but we thought that the retelling of Antigone was like perfect, so that's kind of the ways you can go. I think if you want it to be a story that stands without Antigone, you might find some flaws. I think if you want to read a modern retelling of Antigone, you couldn't go far wrong, so that's Home Fire. The next one is Mouthful of Birds by Samantha Schweblin. I love this book, I've done a full review on it, and you can check it out in the link above. Next is one that's been on my TBR for like 2 years, and that is A Curse on Dostoevsky by Atiq Rahimani, and this is like playing with the idea of crime and punishment in Afghanistan. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to like it, but I did enjoy it and I did read it the whole way through. The story opens with a man killing an old woman for her money and running away and leaving the scene of the crime. And basically the rest of the book is him grappling with his guilt and him trying to convince sort of unwilling officials that they should do something about the fact that he's murdered someone. I did like it, I don't know if it just sat for too long, that I was kind of like, I just wanted it done. But I don't know if that's necessarily the book's fault. I think that's more of like me reading it at the wrong time. And I also felt like lots of the times I don't feel like I need to read the source text to really be like, oh, this is brilliant, but I did feel like I was missing out by not having read Crime and Punishment before this. So I think that those two things, the timing and not having read Crime and Punishment, probably like chimed wrong for me to like really get hold of this one. The next is another book I had for review, and it is Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. I won't be doing a full review on this one. I didn't love it, I don't think I really liked it, but what I am going to do is, there's The Prior of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, which I've also had for review, so two big like epic fantasy books. Fantasy isn't my normal genre, and I don't think that's why I didn't get on with this. I think there were lots of other things I didn't get on with in this, but what I'm planning on doing is a video with Tom, who reads epic fantasy, like that's pretty much all he reads, to discuss Black Leopard, Red Wolf when he's read a bit more of this one, and Prior of the Orange Tree when I've had a chance to have a go at that one. So we'll both sort of have passing knowledge of what we thought about both, and then we're going to have a chat about what we liked and what we didn't like. So I am going to talk about this one more. I'm really sad that I didn't like it. I'll talk about it more, but I'm really sad I didn't like it, and I can't recommend it from what I got from it personally. The next one is one that I've chatted about in my other video, and that's Heartburn by Nora Ephron, which I blooming well loved. This is like a lightly disguised autobiography, I feel like, of Nora Ephron, which I'm totally fine with, about her husband who leaves her for an extraordinarily tall woman when she's pregnant and how she copes with that. It's brilliant, it's funny, it's like heartwarming, it's just great, and it has little recipes throughout, which she actually talks about in I Feel Bad About My Neck, which is another book of hers, that are real recipes from her life, and we actually made one. We made the cheesecake from it, and I quite liked it, and I just thought it was brilliant to have like food mixed in like so well, so we really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed like carrying my book around the supermarket looking for cheesecake recipes, but yeah, I really loved it, and if you haven't read it yet, please do, it's brilliant. The next one I have is You Know You Want This, and that is by Kristen Roupenian. Collection of short stories from the person who wrote Cat Person. I have to admit I didn't reread Cat Person when I got to it in here because I read it once when it came out and I read it once to Tom, so I felt like I knew it quite well. But all of the others are like little spiky little short stories. Yeah, it's really good. I think I'm going to talk about this one in a whole video because it's kind of hard to pick like a short story to talk about or to tell you what I thought. I think if I was going to go like broader, I think some of them are really hyper realistic, like you have in Cat Person, where you kind of feel like you've sunk into it, and some of them aren't. And I actually felt like that one, like there's one called A Mirror, a Bucket and an Old Thigh Bone, I think, that are basically like fantastical stories, which I wasn't really expecting. I thought this was going to be all really realist, but I did enjoy it. I think it's out already, so you can pick it up if you're interested, and it's nice to have a copy of Cat Person on my shelf because I love Cat Person so much, but I think I'm going to talk about this one in a whole video. And the last one I have, which was actually the last one I finished, is The Crimson Petal and the White by Michel Faber, and I carried this one around with me for absolutely ages, and just fell into the story. It's fabulous. You've probably already heard many people talk about this one, but it's the story of basically of a young prostitute called Sugar, who's 19, and her station and her life, and how she kind of passes through that. It's just fantastically done. I've really enjoyed the Michel Fabers that I've read this year, and if you haven't read it yet, I know it's big and fat, and it is big and fat, it's like 800 pages. It really doesn't feel like it. I think once you're in the story, you're kind of just with them and you want to stay with them. And I think it's one I would want to reread in future, which is like a high praise for me. So hopefully you've enjoyed hearing me natter on about all the books that I've read in February. As I said, I think I've done really blooming well. Fingers crossed March kind of stays up and I keep kind of going. I'll be moving house at some stage in the spring/summer, so I'm kind of wanting to keep my momentum for when I'm just too busy and decorating and doing all kinds of things. So yes, wish me luck. Have you read any of these? Have you enjoyed any of these? Any you were like, you thought my opinion was different to yours? I'd love to know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys again soon in another video. Bye bye.